Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Find and Follow podcast, where we are all about helping you find and follow Jesus in your everyday life. Scott and Kyle here, just the two of us, cleared some space, as they say.
We got lots of room on the couches. We could lay down.
We got airway space is more of what I was thinking.
Oh.
Room to chatter. So Craig is on an island somewhere.
I was going to say Bora Bora or something like that.
They're on a little
Aruba?
50th wedding anniversary
Way
celebration
to go, Craig
trip.
Cyndi.
Now, they're at 49 and like 3/4 or 2/3.
Well,
but
prophetically, we're going to give them the 50.
I think they're going to make it.
I think they're going to make it.
It's like a little kid, like, how old are you? 4?
Yeah.
2/3?
I'm almost 5.
7 and 1/8.
Yeah, you do as the parents, you do the month thing. Oh, he's 17 months, 24.
Nope.
20,
Dude, that's you.
No, I don't do that.
Oh, you don't?
No.
I
mean, now, I'll do it till a year.
I'm just still trying to get the years correct.
Yeah.
At this stage, you're like, did we just had a birthday 11, 4? Yeah, something. They're good kids. That's what I know.
They're alive. They're healthy. So, yeah, Craig and Cyndi, didn't they do?
Shout out to 50
years.
That's insane. Think about that. How
Yeah.
long have you been married? And I know the answer, so get it right.
13 years. 2009.
Yep, 14 in July.
Yep.
Yeah, good job. I only know that because my daughter was born 6 months before you got married. So there you go.
Yeah.
But that's a long time.
Yeah. I remember celebrating my grandparents' 50th anniversary. Made a huge deal out of it. And they were, I guess they had to get married pretty young. I don't remember. I was in like high school or something.
So you got to add to your current marriage.
Yeah.
You got to add the years you've been alive.
Yeah.
To get to 50.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
It was a long time.
And it's one of those things we could ask Craig, I guess, when he's back on, like, what does it take to get to 50 years?
Yeah.
And there's no magic pill. There's no secret sauce. There's not even like a mystery to it. It's a commitment to love each other, to choose each other, to follow Jesus at the center. And so maybe we should ask him. He's got some wise
You just
things.
said it.
Well, I haven't been there. So,
yeah,
like,
it's true.
I'm coming up on 20, which feels like long. And then you
Yeah.
go another 30 to get to 50.
50 years is a lot. 50 years of anything is a lot.
Right.
Living, breathing, being married to somebody, cohabitating
So
with another individual.
I'm trying to have a good attitude about it. He's not going to listen to this anyways. Somebody might tell him. But every morning they have like real limited minutes or Wi-Fi access. So every morning we get several pictures.
Picture of beautiful white sand beaches.
Beaches, crystal clear water, like fun. I'm glad they're having a great time. It's just
He's rubbing it in a little bit.
When you wake up and it's 20 degrees and it's
9
cloudy.
degrees this last week.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah.
And it's dreary. And I'm just like, I'm ready. I'm officially ready for spring to come. I'm good. Like, if it went to 50 degrees next week, I'm great. Let's do it.
I haven't got enough snowboarding in. I need another full month.
Mm-hmm. This whole Ironman thing, and like, I need to be outside riding my bike and running and just get rid of like the winter cold. Like, I got a little cold thing happening. So I don't know if it sounds weird, but I got a little nasally thing. Anyways, I'm ready. Let's switch it over. So
I'm out.
Enough about me, though.
You.
Nothing what I got going
You're
on.
miserable not being in Aruba or
Great job, Mom and Dad. Way to be married for a long time.
Way to go, kids.
Yeah.
Way to go.
You're doing it. My mom's parents were almost married 70 years.
Wow.
So, I don't know.
I don't remember how old my grandpa or how long they had been married before my grandpa passed away. But my grandma's 90, and she looks like she's 70. I mean, she still travels to Arizona. She does everything on her own.
Whippersnapper.
She's a young whippersnapper. She's living on her own. Does everything. I mean, she's got family near, but like doesn't need any real help. And and so I don't know how old they were when they got married, and I don't remember how old Grandpa was when he passed away. But if he would have stayed healthy, they would have made stupid numbers, right? Like, yeah.
I think Amy's grandparents are maybe a year or 2 away from 70 years. It's got to be getting close. Maybe like 2 years, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nuts.
That's crazy.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I got married pretty young, but man, I don't know. I don't know how long I'm going to make it, man. I got to make it to like 90 something. I don't know, dude.
It doesn't sound promising.
I'm of the sound mind of like, man, when you get that old, like, that's awesome. I'm good. I'm good to go see Jesus.
Okay.
70, 80 years, that's plenty for me.
Well, you'll find out when you get there, I guess. Okay. That seems like long ways off.
Yeah,
Little too far. So we'll jump in here and help people follow Jesus. I was just encouraged. We're getting more stories in this week of people's 23 experience, and not only like some are submitting them, but just talking with people. Just some really cool stuff that's happening in people's lives where just opening up their heart to God in new ways. Some people, it's like for the first time ever to decide to follow Jesus. Other people, they've been walking through some hard things, like you talked about this last week, just the valley of the shadow of death, or the Death Valley, or the dark valleys. That was my
dark shadow.
That was my song lyric prompt for you.
Yeah.
Your refrain.
Yep.
Somebody right now who knows. If you know, you know. You're singing it, but just opening up their heart to God, to allow God to be in on that more than He has been, or their perception of God's involvement. And so just some cool stuff. What a great, and it is, but what a great way to start the year. It's just like, what a great way to start a day or a week where you just putting God personally connected with Jesus more at the center. And we'll jump into that where Jesus talks to his disciples about really what it means to be a disciple. But it really starts with this personal connection with God that we all need to choose. We all need to continually choose, kind of like the marriage thing. You wake up, and not that it's on the edge of divorce, but you just wake up and go, yeah, still am choosing you today. I'm going to love you, which means goes beyond my feelings, includes my feelings, but goes beyond that. And to love you, put your interests above mine, to serve you, to care about you. Same with following Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think if we were to put your dad in this seat, like that choice to pursue, right? Like it takes that energy and effort to, I mean, again, I only got 13 years under my belt, but yeah, like it's a choice that's not just like, oh yeah, I think I'm still in it, right? Like it's not a passive choice. That it's an active choice, like to do this, to make this work, and to love somebody the way that they deserve to be loved, and the way that it's going to take to actually prolong this thing and make it good it's an active choice. It's an active pursuit. So I'm going to pursue you and your interests and your care and your desire in life together, instead of just doing my own thing, because that doesn't work. And it wouldn't work for 50 years. That's guaranteed.
I like how we said we cleared the deck and created more space without Craig here, and then we're just
like,
well, Craig would say this.
Here's what he would say.
Here's Craig's thought.
I'm Craig now, so we could have just not told anybody and then just tried to do our best Craig impression and just say what he would say.
Yeah, I don't know if that works.
I don't have a good Craig impression.
I don't either.
I don't even know what I would do.
I mean, anyway, see, again, here we are.
There you go. But again,
the 23 start, that's kind of
the active, it's not just like I mean, you mentioned the choice and stuff, but it's this pursuit, right? Like when we desire something, it's proved in our pursuit of that, right? You can't just say like, oh, I want to run an Ironman. Okay, well, you're gonna have to pursue that goal, right? And put the energy and effort.
Yeah, you don't just run an Ironman.
Yeah,
it's a triathlon. So
did I say run? Yeah, you could achieve.
It's a bit of, I let it slide all the time. It's a bit of a hot button when you say, hey, I'm gonna do a triathlon. We do triathlon, or I'm gonna do an Ironman. They're like, oh, that's running. Yeah, it's running. Yep. They're just like, yeah, just running. You should be running right now.
It is a lot of running.
It's because most people's context for doing a sport or an event like that is a fun run, doing a run.
Fun run. Yeah, dude, I remember at Green Acres Elementary when we used to run for that.
Bloomsday. Yeah, most people don't have a triathlon experience or a cycling only or like swim, only competitive doing meets. So, anyways, I get it. You're like, yeah, you ran that Ironman. Well, half of it is on the bike. 50% for me, hopefully, will be the bike. It'll be like 6 hours.
I was going to say, much more than half. I mean, if you want to talk about distance.
Oh, yeah. They're just thinking time. Yes.
Time-wise, you have to.
Time will be about half the bike.
I mean, obviously, you travel further faster on a bike, but distance-wise, the giant chunks on the bike.
8 to 10% of it, time-wise, is in the water. So it's, smaller. And then the remainder, give or take, 40% or whatever, is on the old feet.
So
then
if you're
we're
going to
running.
do a triathlon, all three parts of it, like if you just because you desire that, doesn't that's not enough to get you there, right? You got to pursue
That's
that.
the real point we're trying to make
Yes.
here.
So again, in relationships and in as we start the year, like again, I said it and we say it all the time in the New Year's resolution type stuff. I think everybody, and not everybody's a New Year's resolution person, but I think the New Year provides us a spot to look back and to look forward. And everyone's kind of like, oh, what would I want to achieve or do better this year? Or there's seasons of life where we're like, oh man, I need to get in better shape, or I need to eat healthier, or I need to do better in my relationships. It's like, yeah, I want that. And yeah, that's the easy part, going like, oh, here's what I want to change. The hard part is actually pursuing that. It's like, what are you doing to do that? And so as we started this year with 23, like, hey, we're going to be intentional about how we could have a better relationship with Jesus, not just how we could eat better or be in better shape, and that's part of a healthy life, but the spiritual life, which we neglect very frequently, is, okay, how are we going to connect more frequently and in a deeper way with Jesus and do that with other people to the way we were designed? And so, yeah, I think it's been phenomenal.
I love these seasons and these fresh starts. So if you're listening in, take advantage of those times. Whether you got kids in school, like our kids just started a new semester. Like I think for Hayden, like five of the 6 classes are the same, but it's a fresh start in a lot of ways. So science kind of the grade resets. Praise the Lord.
I was just going to say, you get a chance to do better.
Love you,
this time
Hayden.
around.
But anyways, summer's coming up, and if you got kids or even if you don't,
we skipped spring and went straight to summer.
I'm just saying these natural points
Okay.
where you go, hey, this summer with my kids or with my family, let's be intentional, and we want to do X, Y, and Z, or we want to spend this kind of quality time, or every Wednesday we're going to go to the beach together, or just we want to accomplish
We're going to go
these
to
things.
the beach, and then we're going to go to Fusion, because that's what you do on Wednesdays.
Yeah. And then when school starts again, you're like, okay, this fall, so there's these natural points where it creates, whether you want to call it a goal or not, just having some more intentionality, making, happening to life, not just letting life happen to you. Yeah. And the same with following Jesus. And to try to segue us here to jump into the scriptures, Jesus is getting real. Like he's coming to the end, and we're in Matthew towards the end of chapter 16, but this is where it's recorded. But in the ministry of Jesus, he's coming to land the plane here, to head to the death and the resurrection. So
yeah, and not only landing the plane and making it. I mean, he's tying a bow in it and making it complete and clear, where the picture is full to the point where the disciples and the followers of God, the people of God, the Israelites, all that kind of stuff, for generations, for millennia, thought that the gospel message or the good news of who God was and what God was doing was one thing. And as he closes this out, he's being crystal clear about the completeness of it. And that is the point of the cross, right, which they kind of missed out on.
Yeah, and so he says, verse 21, from that time on, Jesus began to explain to his disciples that he's going to have to suffer, and who's going to do it? The elders, the chief priests, the teachers of the law, like the religious leaders, and that he must be killed and on the third day rise to life again. So before it was kind of a little more vague talk in the sense of it was stories and parables and metaphors, and they weren't picking it up. So in these last moments together, he repeats that same, like this is happening. And
but he, again, even to that, like the clear picture of him as the Messiah was very evident to the people who were following him, right? He is the Messiah. But his point now is...
Was it, though?
I think so, but I think an incomplete picture. Because I think his point here in what he's doing now at the end is he's saying that the gospel message is incomplete without the cross.
And the resurrection.
Yes, that recognizing him as the Messiah is a good first step, but it's not very helpful when their concept of him as the Messiah is like so different from his own message of what it means to be the Messiah.
Yeah, because last episode we were just talking about Peter's declaration that the truth of who Jesus is he is the Messiah, the Christ.
Yep.
So,
and as the Messiah, his message now is that he's going to suffer and die. And that's where it's like, what?
Because Peter, verse 22, goes, no. you're not going to do that. Like, I'll stand up and I will make sure that doesn't happen. And like, no, 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 this is not part of the plan. This is not part of the story for the Messiah. And this is one of those most famous kind of quoted lines outside of the Bible, like outside of church or outside of, like, it's in movies and people will say it and not even really know. But it's verse 23. Jesus turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan." Like that phrase, people have said that, know that. They're not even sure why they're saying it, And he says, "You are a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the things of God, but the things of men." And I think that is so key to what it means to follow Jesus, that we have to have a mindset shift. Got to be careful on all those syllables there.
It's tricky there.
Almost where we begin to switch out the things of man and begin to have the mind of Christ and what God's kingdom is about and what he's doing, and to be renewed in our mind and in our thinking. And so Jesus is correcting him real strong, real loud, because this is paramount to who Jesus is, the good news, what it means for him to be the Messiah. Like, this has to happen. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, negative, bud. Get behind me.
Yeah.
Because that declaration of no is coming from Satan.
Yep. And there's such a depth to what's going on, and you mentioned it, but there's just, I love this phrase, one, because it is so well known. It is kind of it's a contrast, like what just happened, right? It's like a record scratch, like, hold up. Like, that's not the Jesus that we was just like had compassion on everyone, right? We talk about some of those like speed bumps, like what's going on. But the depth of what's happening in the context is so beautiful and so complex. Like, we rewind to the beginning of Matthew when we have this temptation of Jesus from the devil. And one of the big things that the devil is offering is he's offering the kingdom and the glory without the cross. Hey, just skip it all and I'll give it to you. And that's the same message that the devil is, and I think the thoughts of man, the prompting of evil in Peter to say that is Jesus is going, hold up, no, you're speaking what the devil wanted to do, which is the kingdom without the cross. The cross is an essential part of it. This has to happen. And I read this week, and I thought this was so cool, and I don't know if you've ever heard this, the depth of this understanding of rabbi, disciple, and we've talked a little bit about that, but Jesus, as a rabbi, disciples followed their teachers. And literally, frequently, that meant that as they walked through places, through towns, through the synagogue, the disciples would be behind their teacher, following him in a very visible representation of, I'm humbled under the leadership of this. I am his servant. I do what he says. I go where he goes. And so the language Jesus is using is, you're not being my disciple right now. You're thinking of your own thoughts.
You're out in front of me.
You're out in front of me doing your own thing, doing what you want to do. The thoughts of man, the thoughts that influenced by the enemy that are not my teaching, and you're missing the point that the cross is essential because sacrifice and humility and surrender is my way. And so you have to get behind me and follow me. And then he goes on to the take up your cross, and we'll talk about that. But that visual, he's like, no, you're in front, man. You're trying to lead. You're trying to do it your way. You're trying to do it the world's way. You're trying to do it the devil's way. If you want to be my disciple, you got to get behind me and do it my way.
Yeah. And that's a powerful metaphor.
Yeah.
And I think we should just slow down and simmer on that, where who is out in front?
Yep.
And as we're walking through Psalm 23, is God our guide? Therefore, he's out in front, going through the pathways. You had a great visual with, like, navigating the sheep on the hillsides.
Yeah, the grazing trails.
The grazing trails. And, it's like if you're out in the woods walking with somebody and they know the trail system and it's really complicated and not well marked. You're like, yeah, you go first. I'll just follow where you're going. Yeah, because you got to cut through the brush here and the pitfalls and, like, hey, it's, rocky here.
Yeah, I was here last week and that tree got down, so we got, all that kind of stuff.
Or are we trying to lead? Are we trying to guide? Are we trying to be, in charge of our own life? There's so many great, horrible, God's my co-pilot, like, he's not your co-pilot.
I vividly remember seeing that on a billboard when I was in, like, middle school and when I first gave my heart to the Lord, and I was like and I've talked about it a little bit. I was a really kind of
rude and obnoxious,
annoying, like, Jesus freak kind of guy. I was like, that is awesome. If Jesus is in the it said something like, if Jesus is your co-pilot, time to switch seats. And I was like, oh snap, he's not the co-pilot, he's the pilot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Right. And but it's so true. And so having these helpful and true understandings of how life works, where Jesus is out in front, we're following. We got to have the things of God on our mind, not the things of man. And here's the tricky part too, is in our own lives, if we begin to put ourselves at the center of our life and the center of all life, it doesn't work and it doesn't make sense. And so, especially when we come into like some pain and some suffering, some hardship, some trials, some persecution, and you go, this isn't like, why is this happening? And it should be different. And this is the remedy. Why do I consider it pure joy when I'm going through trials? Because that's ridiculous. Because for more often than not, we've placed ourselves more at the center of life and going, this is the way it should work. Where Jesus is saying, no, I'm going to go suffer, and it's going to be hard, but because I need to pay for the penalty of sin and remove the penalty of sin for people, and then you can't rise from the dead unless there's a death. And so for the resurrection and for new life to happen. And so he's saying, hey, Peter, you're thinking about just putting you at the center of life and you don't want your teacher to disappear and all this other stuff. It's different when you think through the lens of the kingdom of God.
Yeah, and again, the gospel message in completeness, like they've got it, and I think they do at this point. I mean, you asked that question. I really do think they've got it to an extent. His messianic message and his power, they just have an incomplete picture of what that actually means. Again, void of suffering, and again, and I think Matthew's perspective specifically, as we've talked about to a Jewish audience, like a Messiah, a powerful Lord and King of all, shouldn't have to suffer because he's just powerful. He could just like snap his fingers and be in glory.
Yeah, pampered, the whole feed you with the grapes and someone's fanning you picture. That thing.
So for them to go, no, cross doesn't enter, like not you, bro, the Messiah, like the Lord, like no, suffering and death, like bro, you can avoid that. And even the people, like, that's what they mocked Jesus on the cross, and they're like, if you are who you said you are, you could just stop being on the cross now, right? Like, and so they're missing out on the point of like, yeah, like the atonement sacrifice, and then again, the early century Jews would get the depth and the beauty of it. Oh, like now it makes sense. Like we've always had to have atonement and a blood sacrifice for our sins, and we've always had to understand this like this sacrificial system that God has set up, and now Hebrews says he enters once for all. And he is the perfect sacrifice, the blameless and righteous. Now it does make sense that he gave up everything so that we could have everything.
Yeah, as you mentioned Hebrews, I was going to try to find something, and then I'm like, I don't know where that's at off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure it's in Hebrews. I should Google it. Is Google made us soft? Like
Yes.
we don't have to know the scriptures
Absolutely.
as well.
We don't have to know anything.
I just was disappointed in myself right there as you were talking. I was like,
we don't have to know anything.
No, we do. It just needs to be more on the ready. But I'm pretty sure, and I want to look it up and make sure I'm not just. But there's this beautiful passage. I think it's in Hebrews where, like, why did Jesus have to come and be on earth as fully God and fully man? Why did the fully man part? Why couldn't God just show up like he had in the past? Well, without him being man, he wasn't able to shed his blood for the forgiveness of sins. And so that's just it's a powerful, beautiful understanding of Jesus came not to live his life as God, but to live his life as a servant of all and to give his life as a ransom for people's eternity. And so maybe I'll look that up next time you're long-winded on something.
I mean, I don't want to do this again and bring this back up because we made space, but Craig would know. He would be like, oh, yeah, it's...
He probably would know. He's really good at it. He's put a lot.
Because he grew up without Google, and he put it to memory and put in the pursuit, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah,
he cares and he's passionate about it.
He committed to knowing things and being accurate, and he's got a good brain for retention.
Yes.
So, and then Jesus doesn't stop there. He doesn't just say, "This is my job and this is what I'm doing. Get in line behind me because this is what I'm going to do." He goes, "And this is what you're going to do because this is what it means to be a Jesus follower. If anyone." Verse 24 is where I'm at. If anyone would come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for me will find it. And he goes on in that section.
Yeah,
But he
again,
goes, this is for you too, Peter.
that language that if you're coming after me, if you're following me, if you get behind me like you say you're going to be my follower, this is what it means. It doesn't mean the thoughts of the rest of the world. It's a radical shift in the way that you think about what's important and the way that you think about what is valuable, what you think makes a person great, what makes a person worthy of praise and adoration and accolades and all that kind of stuff. He says, you have to shift. And if you're following me, it means you do the same thing I do, which is take up this cross of humility and vulnerability and servanthood. And yeah, maybe even suffering at the point of like, how can I give up what I have? How can I leverage my life, my resources, my time to better the world around me, to care for people, to love people well, to give of myself? He said that's what it means. It means a selfless devotion to God's will, not yours, not the things of the enemy, not the things of this world. It's a radical shift of values where like our spiritual life takes priority over like our own physical thoughts and well-being. Even at times, Jesus is saying, like, I mean, it's massive. This is like big deal stuff.
It's like shifting your things from just thinking about you as the center to the kingdom as the center.
Yep.
And you go, wait, my life is the most important thing, and I got to preserve my life. And the kingdom thinking would be like, no, you lay down your life. You deny yourself. If you want to save your life eternally, you give up yourself. Yep. That's the mind shift set. Oh, wow. That was my, you change your mind. I got to stay away from those syllables today, apparently. Yeah. I didn't do my warm-up exercises to get mind going.
Set shift.
Yeah, I'm just going to say change.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I said something else. I don't know. I said it, and as I said it, I was like, oh, that's a different way to say mind.
Anyways. Hebrews 2, I did look it up while I was listening.
I felt it. I still felt valued and cared about as a
Hebrews 2:14, since the children have flesh and blood, he too shared in their humanity, so that by his death he might destroy him who holds the power of death. That is the devil. Again, right where you're talking about where Peter was trying to say something the devil was saying earlier. And free those who all their lives were held in slavery by their fear of death. And so it's sharing in their humanity. I think there's even another section I'm looking for too.
Yeah, because then it talks about the significance of blood.
Yeah,
and the blood sacrifice that I was referencing. There's a depth to that. Again, he entered the temple once for all, so we don't have to do it anymore. That's all Hebrews.
It's awesome. It's just a picture of Christ, the Messiah. So, and then just Hebrews or Romans 12. It's very familiar to people, listening in, and I'm sure most people in the church. But the disciples most of them were Jewish, or all of them were Jewish, but most of them were real into the sacrificial system. They were heavily involved. They understood it. And I'm talking about the greater group of Jesus followers, as they are not just the 12, but they are understanding what it means to follow Jesus. To love God is to provide sacrifices, literal sacrifices, animals, grain, oil. But the animals would be put on a physical altar, and they would be cut open and bled out, and so that there would be this symbolism of the coming Messiah to forgive sin once and for all. And so they would go through these practices annually, sometimes more than that, and see the physical blood, see, smell, experience it. And Jesus is saying, I'm going to be that once and for all and take care of all sin. And so then in Romans 12:1, Paul is saying, therefore I urge you, brothers, in view of God's mercy, in view of him going to the cross and him dying in our place and him rising again, to do this, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. And so our call is not to physically die, to deny ourselves, and like as Jesus was saying to the disciples, but to live a life of full surrender, to wake up and to go through the day and say, okay, God, here I am. I give you heart, soul, mind, strength. I give you everything. I surrender. I'm a living sacrifice. What do you want? What do you have? What's your will? What's the kingdom take on this? What's that mindset versus what I'm thinking? And to worship God through that way. And the crazy part is the disciples knew that. Then they watched Jesus die. Then most of them died like the way Jesus died.
Yeah.
Through literal, they gave them their lives. So they were in these pressure points of like deny God, deny Jesus. They're like, nope, crucify me.
They're literally, they would have understood it very physically that they were to follow, that they were to put their lives behind his and live like he did. And that's why Paul's able to say things like, hey, follow me as I follow Christ. Because, like, I put my desire, my will, my thoughts, my agenda behind his. Like, it doesn't mean that we have to, like, live this, like, monk-style, lowly, like, miserable life but that his priorities come before ours, like his way. And specifically, he's saying again that you're not just to insist on your own authority over others. Again, as he gets this, like, you don't leverage your position, your power, your resources for your namesake and to, like, lord it over people. Because again, he says over and over again, like, he's God. He could have done that and just come and been like, no, I'm God, worship me. But he comes to serve people and to love and to care. And so he goes, that's what it's about. So other people come first.
Yeah, he was about the business of wooing people's hearts.
Wooing.
Yeah. And that's how you do that, is you come and you serve and you love and you have compassion and mercy and grace. And, like we've talked about over and over on all these instances where Jesus shows up, sees people, has compassion on them, like a good shepherd, sees sheep. They're lost, they're in need, they're vulnerable. So he protects them, he provides for them, he feeds them, he teaches them, he blesses them, he heals them, so many things. And he's saying, go and do the same thing. Like, give up your life. Because what good is it if you strive for all the things in life, fame and fortune and status and power, and you give up your whole soul, you give up your life for these vain pursuits, which we've already covered. We're not young bucks anymore, but the younger you are, the more that is tantalizing. It's appealing to go after, to make a name for yourself, to prove you can do something, to build something.
Yeah, and I think our culture today just highlights it and emphasizes it more than ever, right? Like you could be an influencer, you can make so much money on YouTube, and
it's a legit profession.
Yeah.
Like people like, what do you do? I'm an influencer, huh?
Yeah. Or just like even
I'm
YouTube. Like there's
semi-famous.
kids that make. Like they just blow up on YouTube and they're like, yeah, I'm a millionaire. I'm a billionaire. Like a couple of my videos caught wind and now I have, like, I make YouTube content, right? And so like that's a desire. Right? Now you ask kids what they want to do and they're like, oh, I want to be an influencer. I want to be a YouTuber.
Yeah.
I want to be a Twitch streamer. Because it's legit. Like people make money off of it.
Right. It's like being an actor, when we grew up. But you could do that. It's not horrible. Like, so what are you going to do with that? You're going to use it to get the good news of Jesus out. You're going to use it, lay down your life in that way, regardless of your profession or regardless of whatever you're doing. Like, how are you using your life to serve God and love Him and love the people around you, and to be your mind to be on the things of God and not just the things that you got going on, the things of the world.
Because again, to the point that we were making, like you could get it all in air quotes. I'm doing that. You could get it all the money, all the fame, all the accolades, all the things. And it's, what good is it if you sacrificed to get there and you did it your way and you were influenced by, again, the enemy who's going, yeah, no sacrifice necessary, no serving necessary, no loving people, no caring for people necessary. You do it your way and you get everything. And people are like, yes, sign me up. Right? Like we joke about like a deal with the devil and like you sold your soul, but it's like, Jesus is like, that's what the enemy wants, is for you to just go, there's a bypass road to suffering and to sacrifice and to humility and to laying down what you want. You can have everything you want, do it your way, and get everything in the world. And Jesus is like, that's just not the way.
I think it's a misnomer. I don't think when we say you could get it all.
Yeah, no, I was just going to get there. Like, yeah. Like
it's a difference between something that is satisfying and something that is a driver. So we think it's a satisfaction thing, and by that I mean this. If we go to lunch, we'll go to a burger place, and I'll buy you lunch. Great. I get you a hamburger. You're like, sweet, I'm starving. Put it whatever you want on it. And then I'm like, I'm going to get you a second burger. You're like, diminishing returns. You're like, I'm full. Like, I'm satisfied. I'm going to get you 14 burgers. You're like, by the 14th one, it's completely wasteful.
You think
But
I'm eating 13? Is that what
no,
you're saying?
no. I'm just saying, just to run it out a little farther. I think after like maybe 2, depending on the burger
Okay.
level.
When I ate last.
When you ate last, like, is it a big burger or these small burgers? Is there bacon on it? Is it like fully loaded? Anyways, too many in the weeds. But you get my point, right? It's not a driver. You're like, oh yeah, just getting more burgers today. Yeah. It's a satisfier. You're like, I'm satisfied. We think fame, fortune, power, money are satisfiers. If I just get enough money, I will be satisfied. And we've all gotten more money in our lives. And then you go, I'm completely content. I never desire for the next tax bracket. I never look at the people who are, quote unquote, richer than me, ahead of me, and go, oh, I desire that house, that car, that, vacation, that opportunity, go to that concert, do 17 concerts, whatever the case may be. Yep. We think it's a satisfier. Fame. Yep. Oh, people know me, recognize me, approve of me. I'll be satisfied when I hit this level. It's really a driver. It's never complete.
Yep.
And Jesus is saying, switch the driver.
Yep.
Switch out from the world's driver to satisfaction for your soul. Because that driving, when you go, I'm complete in who Jesus is in me and what he's doing through me, then you'll be satisfied for your soul. Then you'll have rest and peace for your soul when we come to Christ and go, my driver is to be about him and his kingdom, and I'm going to follow him, deny myself. And not only will the driver be satisfied because it's a pursuit of God, but then my satisfaction will be more satisfied because I'll be complete in him. And the accolades
Your
of man.
satisfaction will be satisfied?
Yeah, I know. It's kind of, I hope it made sense to people listening.
No, I got you. Because again, that's where I was going to go, is that we have this unrealistic goal that if we just do it our way and don't have to, again, don't humble ourselves, don't think of others, just think about ourselves, then we'll get these things. And ultimately, we understand that's a lie. That's what the enemy does. If we're talking about this from the spiritual aspect of using these big kind of scary terms like the devil and stuff, but like that's what Jesus said from the beginning. He's the father of lies. He's gonna produce this lie that says there's an end road around it, around suffering, around humility, around sacrifice, around serving and loving people, which at the core of who we are as a selfish person sounds good. Like, we wouldn't say that out loud. Like, no, I don't want to love people. But, like, yeah, if there's a choice to, like, humble myself and put effort into actually caring about you or just not, most of the time I'm like, yeah, like, if I could have what I want and not compromise to make Scott happy, like, sure. Like, and so all of these lies, like, then it's easier. And the lie is like, no, there's no satisfaction in it. There's no real core rest for our soul and understanding at this like peace and joy of life. It's hollow, it's an empty, and it's a vain pursuit. I mean, we talk about it, like look around at Hollywood and all these people who have everything and they say, yeah, I'm still miserable and it's never enough and I'm super depressed and I'm this vain pursuit never ended well and I'm just because I have millions of dollars, billions of dollars, just because I have so many followers doesn't make me happy. I don't have real joy because it was a vain pursuit and it's empty. And actually leading a life that was like Jesus, where we love people and care for people and serve people and give back, that's where we find value.
Yeah, and that's what Jesus is saying. What can you do to exchange for your soul? Like, what can you give? Like, can you build all the stuff up and then go, I'm going to exchange it for my soul? Like, nobody's
how much
intentionally
is a soul worth?
Yeah, nobody's really intentionally doing that, I think, out loud. But
I think we would in like semantics, like for like worth and value and like again, I agree with you. Most people wouldn't say soul, but like this deep, we would call it something with this like this deep desire in us to be satisfied or to be rooted or grounded in. Like, is enough money going to do that, or relationships, or sexual partners? What is it that I'm going to?
It's always the next thing.
Yep.
It's a moving target. It's the allure of Satan, where it's like, oh yeah, one more and one more thing and one more. I used to work in a before here where we would work in high-end residential homes, and we would do audio video things, and so you get around some people that some of them were, at least I know one of the clients was worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and you just get around them, lots of people worth tens and tens of millions of dollars and had a lot of opportunity. And it was just like when it came to technology, it was like, well, what's the latest and greatest? What is this something that nobody else has? I'll just get that.
Yeah. What's the best thing?
That was like the conversation
How
of
do I
sales.
look the coolest?
Like, does this is not out yet? Just give me one of those,
What
like a
does it do?
projector or speakers. You're like, do you want to know a price? Not really.
Yeah.
Like,
What do you want? I just want better than my neighbor.
better than my neighbor.
Yeah.
I want to. When I have a party, I want to bring people into my home theater and I want to show off, and people go, ooh.
Something that nobody's ever seen before.
Yeah, custom curved, chairs from Florida, 3 rows of them. They were like, $12,000 a piece or so. I mean, just ridiculous amounts of money where they would spend on getting other people's approval, getting status, getting the things of the world, the things that we all, me too, get a lure of. You talk about, I go to races for triathlons. And I look down the line of bikes, and there's envy in Scott's heart for sure. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're like,
those things are expensive.
Yeah, that bike and that bike. I may have been shopping some bikes this last week.
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
You got to get a new bike.
Window shopping,
not
purchasing.
Okay.
I don't have to get a new bike. The bummer is the bike I'm currently on did the last race, so it's proven like it can go that far and get you through it.
But could you get a faster one?
Amen, brother. Amen.
I heard you can't buy speed. I heard this. It's hard to buy speed. You can buy speed. It just costs a lot of money.
You can buy speed on the bike. You can't really buy speed like on the run. You can get nicer shoes. They're legit. Nike has come through and changed the world, and obviously forever, but even recently have changed running world. And you can buy $300 pair of Nikes, and they are faster than $100 pair of Nikes.
But I heard, like, in the bike world, like, there's a shift of like, you can't buy speed. All this is like, but then the top end,
you can buy speed.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's expensive.
Yes, most of the time you could buy new wheels that are faster. But is it cheaper just to like
train
harder, lose maybe a couple pounds so you're not carrying extra weight, change your body position to get more aero, because the most aero impacting thing is your body on the bike, not the bike itself, so that you can do some things to move. But yeah, it's also just look good, feel good, race good.
Yeah. But again, the point and the emphasis is we get lost in these things, right? And the allure of this is going to be. I'm going to bring it back. I got it.
My wife's listening, and she's like, don't go down that crazy
I got it, though.
bike.
But the allure in that, though, is this is going to solve the problem because I look to the guy next to me and look to the guy in front of me, and here's what I think is if I just had that bike, if I just had those shoes, and Jesus is saying, we got the wrong motivator. Like, we need to look at him and follow him and have our priorities and our values set in the right spot. And he's laid it out for us in a beautiful way that if we focus on that and follow him, he's got it taken care of, right? He's got the stuff that we need, so we don't have to look to our left and to our right. And the world is going to bombard us. Next year, there's going to be something better that's going to come out that's going to say, if you have this, you'll be happier. Again, social media, there's going to be a new TikTok or whatever it is next year that's going to show these people being happy because they're doing this or that, and they have this and they have that. There's going to be a new influencer. There's going to be a new Kardashian family, and we're going to look and go, ooh, we need that. And Jesus has said, it's worked for thousands of years in a soul satisfaction, joy, and peace for your life. It will work for the next 1,000 million eternity. Like,
right.
You got to have his priorities.
Till Jesus comes back, and that's how he ends that kind of dialogue, is saying, I'm going to come back with the fanfare and the glory and the angels and the revelation, and in a way you would think the God of all creation would show up. He's like, oh yeah, that's happening. Just be on the ready. He's got the BRB going on. And I'm excited for us, Mission Church. We're starting in 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. New series open, and just talking about living life more open and what it really means to follow Jesus, because you'll be sorely disappointed if you kind of partially away follow Jesus, and you'll be disappointed. It won't work. It's not how we're built. What it truly means to follow Jesus and live life open-handed, open life, open heart. And it's going to be, I think, a helpful revelation for a lot of folks to go, yeah, you embrace this full life that Jesus offers. It looks like this. This is what he says.
And that's what he's doing here. He's tying the bow on it, again, back to our beginning. Like, that's what I think he's really doing is like, you've got part of it, and I do think they had part of it, but now he's going, this is really what it looks like. Because I think they had the connection to him down, and they had the connection to each other down pretty well. They said, "Oh, life with you is we gotta look at you, and we should do this together. You have us in community, so we gotta connect personally with you, Jesus. That's the key to this. We believe you are the Messiah. We got to grow intentionally in relationship with each other. You've called us to do this in community, but I don't think they had it yet quite that like it's very different than a selfish mindset. It's an others first. How can I serve others the way that He's gifted me?" And so, yeah, we're going to talk about that, and I'm excited about it, too.
To give Peter credit, he does get behind Jesus. Like, he continues to follow Jesus. It's just the roller coaster, the learning. Like, all of us. You're like, oh, oops, I was out of line. Okay, I got to get behind you.
Yeah, we believe the lies. Again, I think there's a spiritual battle. We've talked about this a ton. It's easy to believe the lie. The enemy is tricky, and he'll take a lie that sounds like the truth and twist it just a little bit. Where, again, the truth is that Peter cares about Jesus, and he's developed this beautiful relationship with this person he believes to be the Savior. And the lie that Satan's whispering in his ear is like, you don't want that to end. You don't want to see Jesus hurt and suffer. And so Peter's going, yeah, I love you, man. Like, I genuinely have a deep care for you. And it's like, what do I need to do to stop you from being hurt? Like, that seems like a righteous, good place for him to be. The lie is just like, bro, you're not thinking about the end goal and the message I've told you.
And it speaks to how much Jesus cares about Peter, that he matters to God. And so Jesus is loving him by correcting him and saying, no, let's change this thinking. Let's think about the kingdom.
Let's shift your mindset or your perspective.
I'm not going to try, because then we'll get like the explicit lyrics on the podcast. The computer will be listening and go, you kept swearing on that episode. I never swore. But Jesus, like Peter, matters to God deeply, like we all do, like the disciples did.
And again, the right perspective is so important in living this abundant life, like you said before, Scott. Like, Jesus wants Peter to experience that abundant life, and he's just like, you're missing it a little bit, man. You just have to shift that perspective just a tiny bit to see that.
It's just like you're juggling knives over there. Just
perspective is a little different.
You said the other word though. It's like I'm watching you juggling knives. Like, don't grab the wrong end.
Like, you just have to tweak it just a tiny bit. And like, once you do that and you have this new mindset and this new priorities and this new value system, you're gonna experience. It's better for you. Like your point, it's not a burden and a labor that he wants him to, like, oh, I really just want to lay it on you to make you feel bad and to make you feel like you have so much extra weight. He goes, no, it really is the better way to do life. And it really is my way, and it's a burden that's light. So if you try to do it your way and try to just do it to please yourself, it's going to be heavy and hard and hurting you. So like, yeah, to your point, it's a beautiful love and restoration of who he is to help him and to correct him see the way.
Yeah. There you go. Well, hopefully this has been a helpful episode for you and what it means to follow Jesus, and been encouraged, and just take advantage of whatever you got going on this week coming up with leaning into maybe a new season is starting, or ramping up some of these areas of what it means to follow Jesus. So have a great week doing that, and being the light and love of Jesus out in the world. We'll chat with you real soon.